In the year 1947, Thor Heyerdahl launched his Kon-Tiki expedition across the Pacific Ocean. An Air Force test pilot named Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier.
The first time ever in level flight.
And an electronics supply company in Illinois named Majestic Radio went bankrupt.
And when they went bankrupt, they owed my dad money, and so he took what they owed him in electronic components, and he moved those electronic components to a little red barn that we had on the farm and started Arthur H. Richardson Incorporated.
The little red barn stood on 33 acres of land that Arthur and his wife Florence had bought in Wayne, Illinois in 1939.
My dad believed that you should be self-sufficient, so he had this little farm on the 33 acres, and we had cows, we had hogs, we had lambs, we had turkeys, chickens, all kinds of livestock.
Farm life was not unfamiliar to Arthur. He was born and raised near Hardy, Arkansas, in the Ozark Mountains, the oldest of 12 children, and put to work at an early age sawing down oak trees and making railroad ties to help the family survive.
And he tells the story on his 13th birthday, he made 13 railroad ties. And his father believed that once a young man reached puberty, that he was no longer of any use to him. He was more interested in girls, I guess, than working. And so he drove my father away with a shotgun when he was 13 years old.
Arthur was taken in by an uncle in Wichita, where he met his future bride, Florence, in the Sunday school of a local church. Florence helped Arthur get through high school, and both of them went on to obtain college degrees. They married in 1926 and had 2 sons, Art Jr. and Edward. From the time they were little, their father thought of involving the 2 boys in the family business.
My brother and I were asked to test tubes and to straighten pins and to sort electronic components out of the red barn. And so I had my fill of the surplus business at an early life and really wanted no part of it. But I did really appreciate the animals and loved horses and dogs and so forth. And so I really determined that I wanted to go into veterinary medicine.
Ed completed his secondary school studies at Cheshire Academy in Connecticut, then entered Iowa State University in the autumn of 1961 to study veterinary medicine. Toward the end of that first year, however, he contracted mononucleosis and was told to stay home for the fall term, or about 6 months.
And my dad said to me, he said, well, you're not just sitting around here for the rest of the year. He said, you're going to work with me. So I started a ride to Chicago with him to 608 South Dearborn. And at the time, the business was in a room probably like this office, maybe 30-foot square. The majority of the tubes and surplus were in the red barn out on the farm. You know, early on, my father didn't make any money in the business, and my mom used to say when she went back to teaching school that she taught school so my dad could play store in the electronics business. And then I think when I got in the business that she included me in that definition. And it was really her hard work and dedication that supported the business until a time when we could make some money.
At his father's urging, Ed began calling on the chief engineers of radio and TV stations to supply their broadcast tube needs.
The broadcast business was the first business that really started to grow. We actually got an award from IMAC, they called it Golden Tetrode, for the fastest growing distributor at that time. And we went from one industry to the next, from broadcast to then I started calling on railroads and airlines. They all use tubes in their communication systems, and we built up the business with each one of those, and the business started to do pretty well.
But not without its dust-ups. Mr. R was much beloved in the tube business, but not as focused on the bottom line as his son.
It was interesting. Every time that I tried to sell a tube that we didn't have, Dad would tell me that it's in the red barn. It's in the red barn. And I got tired of hearing that. One day he went to the IEEE show in New York, and I contracted a a semi-trailer to come out the barn, and I went through the tubes, and I saved every tube that I had had any call for that I knew anything about, and all the rest of them I threw away. When my dad came back from New York, he was irate. And then for 5 years, I got to hear every time that somebody called and wanted a tube we didn't have, he said, "It was in the red barn, you threw it away." So he finally told me one day, he said, "You know, this business isn't really big enough for the two of us." He said, "You run it." And he said, "On every Saturday, we'll get together for lunch. And as long as you're doing okay, you can run it, but you got to tell me what's going on." And so we did that for quite a few years. And the business grew. We built our first building at 3030 River Road. And by that time, we probably had about 20 people in the business. Everyone thought about the company as a family company, and even today, there are many, many employees here that have got 25, 30 years worth of seniority. We just don't lose our people.
It's like a small family business. Even though we're a publicly traded company, you still have a feeling of family. I mean, Ed's mother worked here for many years. She knew every employee that walked through that door.
She sat down here with us in a normal office, and she was right at the front door when you come in, and she greeted everybody. She remembered and she knew you by name. She wanted pictures of the grandkids and the kids, and Mrs. R was a gem to this company.
Back in 2020, when the pandemic started, they took care of us, everybody, their employees, and I'm never gonna forget that.
You know, I've worked at larger corporations before, and you almost got the feeling of just being a number. And here, it's more of a family feel. You're not just a number here, you have a name.
I'm really excited to be part of Richardson Electronics. I'm happy that this company is challenging me, and I think we can achieve a lot.
Beginning in the 1980s, Richardson Electronics added manufacturing to its business profile, acquiring National Electronics in 1981, followed by the acquisition of National's main competitor, Citron, a year later. The company went public in 1983 and continued its upward growth, both domestically and internationally, into the 1990s and beyond.
National Electronics was actually located in LaFox, where we are now, and it was in a 100,000 square foot building, and we've added on to it. We're about 250,000 square feet now. That got us into manufacturing, and then after that, we started acquiring divisions of RCA, GE, Westinghouse. We acquired the Phillips transmitting tube business. Over the years, we made about 25 acquisitions, and we consolidated all of that manufacturing into this facility.
As with any company, of course, there have been challenges along the way, including an antitrust investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice.
It cost us $10 million and took 3 years, but we got through it. And what it did is it made us diversify. So we went from just being in the tube business to where we went into the semiconductor business as well. And it actually grew faster than the tube business. And we had another division that was Security Systems division, where we were selling camera tubes and monitor tubes for closed-circuit TV applications. So at that period, the company had grown to about $700 million in sales. We had 1,000 employees, and we were losing money, a lot of money. So we sold the Security Systems division to Honeywell for $75 million. Then we sold the RF division to Arrow for $238 million, and we paid off all of our debts and ended up with a company that was $140 million in infrastructure with 24 subsidiaries and 60 offices all over the world. But we needed that infrastructure to support the tube business, which we still had. So from 2011 until today, we've been working hard at adding new products to the business. We've started the healthcare business, where we've spent 7 years and $35 million and built a factory within a factory, where we have the most modern CT factory in the world here in this facility, and we're developing our own CT tubes. it all came out of engineered solutions. So anytime a customer would come to us and say, you know, I need a particular device, we would try to help them engineer that device. Lots of times it was a dead-end street, but sometimes it was a home run. For instance, currently we've developed an ultracapacitor module that replaces acid batteries in wind turbines. Our engineers actually came up with the design in 2020, and they put it in beta sites in the wind turbines for about a year. In the meantime, we have a patent on this device, and so we have very little competition. It's a perfect example of engineered solutions. This one just happened to be a home run, and probably is going to be one of the most profitable businesses we have in the future.
Other engineered solutions include high-powered magnetrons manufactured in LaFox and used to make synthetic diamonds, and Canvas, which specializes in creating custom display solutions for original equipment manufacturers.
The Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, they all rely on us. Go to Minneapolis Airport. If you want to know what flight you're on, those are all Richardson displays. And they're the best, prettiest ones that are there. It's really cool. And I even went to when I was there last, I went behind the screen and looked, and there it said.
Richardson Electronics. From power management solutions focused on green energy and power conversion, to CT tubes and replacement parts helping lower the cost of healthcare, to custom displays integrated into sophisticated medical and industrial equipment, Richardson is going strong.
You know, my mom worked here until she was 95, and my ambition is to work longer than she did. So we'll see if that works. I think the company right now is on a track where we're growing at about 20% a year, and especially with some of the new products like the ultracapacitor line. I think this company could be $500 million again and very profitable.
Richardson Electronics. For 75 years and counting, we have stayed true to our family roots while embracing innovation and engineered solutions to meet the changing needs of customers around the world.